Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Brad LaRock, and I head up the marketing team here at Datasembly. This is a special edition of our webinar series where we get to shine a light on all the good work that's happening with one of our customers. Today we're going to be talking to Festival Foods and specifically discussing how they're advancing their competitive intelligence through product matching. Here's what we're going to cover today. I'm first going to do a quick level set on Datasembly, just to make sure everyone's got a good understanding. But then I'm going to quickly transition into our topic today, which is really around competitive intelligence through product matching. We're going to hit some of the basics. How does it work? What are some of the key problems that it's solving in market? And what does this really look like when it's working? Not really just as a product, but like, what does it look like when it's working well across an organization? I think in my conversations with Festival and specifically with Ben, that was a really critical element in what they were bringing to market. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Here with me are a couple of special guests. We have Ben Plaza. Ben, thank you for being here today.
Hi, thank you.
Ben, I would love for you, if you wouldn't mind, just to introduce yourself, maybe your role and a little bit of your responsibilities at Festival Foods.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Ben Plaza. I'm the business analytics manager at Festival Foods. I've been with the company for a little bit less than 10 years. It's exciting. So I've been in various roles in my time at Festival. And currently my responsibilities include, among other things, competitive data collection and overall retail strategy.
Very good, very good. Another special guest here with us, one of my favorite assemblers, Kira Park. Kira, thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Yeah, would you mind sharing a little bit about your role and then also a little bit of your background on how you came together with Datasembly?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Kira Park. I'm a senior product manager here at Datasembly, and I love building high quality, user focused end-to-end products. And I have built and currently manage our product matching solution here at Datasembly.
I can attest to that quality part. Kira, we love everything that you're doing for Datasembly. Thank you for joining us here for this conversation. Listen, Ben, I would love to actually come back and go a little bit deeper into your background and maybe even a little bit more on Festival Foods. But before we do that, I'd like to level set a little bit with the audience on Datasembly. Sound okay?
Yeah, for sure. Sounds great.
Okay, thank you. Here, for those that may not know us, we may look a little bit different than some of the technology providers you're meeting in space today. At its core, we're a grocery data and analytics company, and we're busy collecting and really processing product data across the market at scale. That's 200 plus retailers, 150,000 local locations, 12 billion weekly observations. We get pretty excited about all of that data for a very singular reason. We believe that increasing the transparency of the market is one of the fastest ways to unlock the opportunity that already exists. We see this because we work hand in hand with our partners as they're capturing those opportunities, not only to just grow sales, but also maintain expenses, a really important part of the conversation today. To be clear, we specialize in collecting and harmonizing and enhancing that grocery retail data in near real time at the local level. The local level part is what's really important. It's where we see a lot of winning and a lot of losing with our partners. Like there's opportunities that are happening on a very real-time basis. So being able to capture those as they're happening is critically important. We fit nicely together with other retail data sets that are available, whether it's syndicated or maybe in-store audits. Our collections are being done weekly. They're being done daily in some cases. And that tends to fit very nicely together to create a little bit of an unlock. Because of that collection, we get the opportunity to work with both retailers as well as CPGs. And I think consistently, one of the things that I hear is that it's the granularity, it's the recency, and ultimately the shareability of that publicly available data that really starts to provide that transparency and that unlock. And that's really at the core of what we're bringing to market. But we're not here to talk about those people. We're here to talk about my friend Ben and Festival Foods. Ben, so I'm going to come back around to you now. Would you mind just taking that introduction that you had and going a little bit deeper about yourself, maybe some of the things that you are leveraging from your background and how that's helping Festival of Foods advance its journey?
Yeah, happy to. So, some of the things that I like to bring to our data analytics, mindset is a strong background in focusing on how we can make things actionable for our end users. So that's one of my bigger focuses. But talking a little bit about Festival as a company. So we're a family and associate owned. We are an ESOP company. We were founded in 1946 in Onalaska, Wisconsin. And we currently operate 41 stores in the state of Wisconsin. And one of the biggest things that we have, one of the biggest questions that we're always asking, and we've got it printed on the front of all of our stores, in front of the registers, and we have this big giant boomerang in most of our stores. And we ask this question: will it bring the guest back? And everything that we do at Festival, we're always asking that question: will this bring the guest back? And so when it came to competitive data collection and collecting information, we really recognized that we needed better information. We needed more sound information in order to deliver a better guest experience.
Got it. Actually, I really like that boomerang concept. What will keep them coming back through the door? Critically, obviously, very, very important in retail, but just generally speaking, it is a really strong approach. You talked a little bit about the importance of product matching. Can you share a little bit about what life looked like before we got together and started moving on this? And then we'll get into a little bit of what we're doing, but I think the before picture is kind of interesting too.
Yeah. So, I mean, before we even engaged with web scraping as an idea, we were, like everyone else, doing physical shops of our competition, going out there, collecting prices and sorting it all and doing our stuff with it on the back end. And then we've gone through matching efforts internally to try and create these connections between items, and we've had success temporarily with those efforts. And what we found is that continued maintenance and that continued commitment from the provider is something that is really important with getting data that has integrity, not just today, but data that will have integrity 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, and data that will have continuity, so that we can effectively look back over time rather than being stuck with, oh, this is the picture today. We're able to say, well, this is the picture today, and this item has been matched now for 6 months or a year. And so we can use that information as well. We found that we were having a lot of matches go stale, and I think we'll touch on that a little bit later. But really, what we found is that without matching as a component of our web scraping, we were missing out on a big opportunity for enhancing the guest experience and making sure that the guest was walking into a store that had retails that made sense based on what they're seeing in the rest of the market. So that's really what matching has, high level, what matching's done for us so far.
Yeah, that's great. In fact, you're showing some of the depth of it already. And we will try to kind of hit on all those elements. In fact, we'll touch on a couple of those as we get deeper in, but Kira, let me bring you back in here if I can. Let's just talk a little bit more high level about, why does this matter? Like, why are we investing in product matching?
Yeah, so actually, as you highlighted earlier, Brad, because we harvest billions of product observations daily from public sources on every store, from every banner, and every week, and because we actually crawl through every item and its attributes weekly, we have the most comprehensive data set of national brand and private label items available, which is really important when we're trying to provide customers with the most comprehensive view into their competitors' pricing and assortment. So making matches to both private label and national brand products. And because we can quickly make high quality matches, leveraging our machine learning and natural language processing, our customers don't have to. And then, as Ben mentioned, we ensure that their picture of the competitive landscape stays current and up to date, as new products are launched and old products are actually discontinued through our match maintenance process, which I know we're going to touch on a little bit later.
Yeah, yeah, and actually, some of the things that you mentioned in machine learning and natural language processing has really helped us develop a selection of match types. Let's just spend a little bit of time getting a little bit more clarity around that, and then Ben, I know this has been an important area for you too, so maybe I'll ask you to jump into this part of the conversation as well.
For sure.
Yeah. So we support all types of product matching, including matching our customers' private label products to national brand ones, and even matching national brand products to other national brand sizes or flavor alternatives. However, the two types of matching that you see on this slide, and also that we've partnered with Festival Foods the most on, are our private label matching and variable weight matching. So we found quality matches between Festival Foods' private label products and those of their competitor retailers through our private label to private label matching. And then it's really similar with that variable weight and PLU matching as well, where we found quality matches between Festival Foods' variable weight items and their competitors' variable weight items. And actually, Ben, I would love to loop you in a little earlier here because that brings up something that I would love to kind of emphasize and touch on, which is that we know variable weight matching can be really tricky given the minute differences in attributes and the dynamic assortments that change really frequently. How have these matches actually impacted how your team operates?
Yeah, so that's a great point to bring up, and that might be something that scares people like going into matching, right? So we're all industry experts in our own individual pieces of the pie, and oh, no bakery pun intended. So we're all experts, right? And I'm an expert in retail pricing. I'm not an expert in produce quality and size. And so what we did was we engaged with our merchants, our buying teams, our merchandisers. And when we started this matching process, we leveraged those teams to approve or have the final say on approval or rejection of the matches, because they're the ones who are going to be the end users of the product. And so in my perspective, asking that boomerang question, they are my guest. So my thought was, I need to engage them in the process because that will bring them back to the tool. That's going to get more engagement. We're also going to get a better product. And so one of the things that we run into is like we carry extra fancy apples and another competitor might carry fancy apples. And that's a piece of industry knowledge that our merchants know, and that most merchants should know about their competition if they're out there visiting stores and taking a look at the different assortments and the product availability that our competition has. They should be looking at quality, sizing, all of those components. So what we really focused on in matching was taking away that retail element from those teams. So if you know that we carry a bigger pineapple than some other competitor, then you have an idea in your head already that our pineapples are a little bit bigger. It's okay, maybe if we're a little bit higher priced, or, ooh, we carry a smaller apple. We need to make sure that we're definitely, better priced than competitor Y. And that level of industry knowledge, because those aren't things that are printed on other competitors' websites. So leveraging that internal knowledge that we all have in our companies is something that was able to just solve for the question of what's the price, because that's really what our teams were wondering. And they've all been hunting and pecking anyway, going on competitors' websites, and we'll see it in a little bit, but the pictures that are pulled into the matching dialogue really do tell 1,000 words, and they really set us up with a really great jumping off point when we're making our matches, because a lot of the times our buying teams who are working with the rest of our business analytics team would say, oh, yep, that's the image of the item that I always look up when I go to their website. I know this is the match. This is something that I've already looked at multiple times. So definitely some great stuff there with the variable weight matching. But just know that you won't have every piece of information, but if you leverage your teams, if you leverage the knowledge base that you have in your organization, it will be very impactful.
I think you're, if I can jump in, I think you're sort of describing a really interesting marriage between the people and the technology that supports this type of effort. And Kira, you've been quick to sort of remind me that a lot of this specialty that Ben was talking about is something that we can react to in space. And we think about that in the way of match criteria. And I'm not going to attempt to describe this, but I would love it if you would.
Exactly. What Ben was saying is something that we really focus on, which is making sure that it's super customized, so that it's accurate and impactful for our customers. And this is why we actually make sure that each match has an evaluation of a high, a medium, or a no match, or a low match to provide clarity into its actual strength. And this evaluation set is based on a comparison between product attributes, like Ben was mentioning, in terms of product size, item count, product flavor, product price, and actually many, many more that we can definitely dive into. And to ensure that we provide Festival Foods with the highest quality matches, we worked really closely with them and their teams to define what the criteria actually was, so that our match strength aligned with their internal requirements of what a match actually is. And I know I was really impressed, and the team was really impressed on the thoughtfulness and detail that Ben and his team gave in actually defining what they consider a match to be. I would love it to work with you a little bit more, Ben, to expand on that, if you don't mind, talking about how this allows you to compete to a greater degree.
Yeah, so by having the match criteria up front, what it allowed us to do was to talk with our business and really figure out what do we consider the same. And that led us to the question, what does the guest consider the same? Because if the guest considers it the same product, then it really doesn't matter if we consider it the same product. If we carry a 5.5 ounce can of mushrooms and Walmart carries a 5 ounce can of mushrooms, well, it's a can of mushrooms. The guest sees it as the same item. There's really no wiggle room there. And so we kind of we set our thresholds by kind of looking out at competition and saying, okay, what are the ounce differences that we see? And would we consider this a high match? And then we kind of got our standards that we wanted to go forward with. And it really helped in the matching process, because anything that was a high confidence match, we didn't really have to take too much time investment on our side. It was just, yep, it's a high match because it fits all of our criteria, put it in the system. So it's been great having that confidence in the matches, and it's just allowed our team to have more confidence when they're making their decisions about pricing, either every day or ads or whatever it may be.
Very good, Ben. Sorry, I didn't mean to advance the slide on you. I got a little jumpy. But what I was moving to was something I think that you mentioned a little bit earlier. And, I think as I have found many of my conversations with people in product matching is they tend to struggle with the maintenance of the project, really. Like, I think there's a lot of work that happens to get people to a certain point in stage, and it's sort of like everybody takes a breath, but there's this really important element here called maintenance. And Kira, I'm going to come back around to you. I know this is near and dear to your heart. Do you mind?
Yeah, it is definitely essential to the product offering. As Ben touched on, you can have great matches at the start, but over time, they're going to just become stale, and the data isn't going to become useful anymore. So our match maintenance is actually super essential to what we do. As you know, the product landscape is continually changing. And actually, an interesting stat on that is, on average, we maintain at least 3% of our matches that we make each month due to this changing landscape, with product identifiers, new products being launched on the market, and actually old ones being discontinued. And as part of our match maintenance process, we actually go back and review any of the no matches to see if they have a match based on this retail assortment change. And we swap out an agreed upon 20% of any of your reference products for different ones, so that you can find seasonal products that come in and actually make sure that your assortment is up to date and providing you with the best kind of picture of the data. And then, of course, during that time, we also detect any out of date matches that we find new matches for. So I'd love to just talk to you, Ben, and dive deeper into what you highlighted earlier, which we had the privilege of just going through our first maintenance period with you. It'd be
We
great to
did.
hear about how this has impacted your team.
Yeah, of course. So we went through our first initial matching in late 2023, and we just completed our first round of match maintenance. And I pulled the stat before the meeting. We were able to take 83 no matches. So items that previously we had said, these don't have a good match in our competition. They are not matched up anywhere. We were able to take 83 of them and actually incorporate a match into the system. So 83 items for the first rematch. I did not think it would be that many, but assortments are changing rapidly now. Competitors are flipping PLUs. The seasonal products are becoming more important. So all of these things kind of add up to this match maintenance being a really important part of what we do. And as Kira hit on, we can get it up the hill, but it's that once you get it up the hill, unless you're maintaining, you're just going to go right back down the hill. So we're really happy with the matching maintenance that we've had, because it's kept our items fresh. We were able to refresh all the items that we needed to and add additional matches.
Yeah, maybe even more so now. Ben, you alluded to a lot of the dynamics that are happening in the market, but I think as consumers are sort of resetting, coming out of some of the volatility that we've had over the past few months, even a couple of years, there's a lot of new innovation that's hitting market. There's a lot of new private label that's hitting market, and that's offering other advantages to consumers that need to be considered. So the maintenance of these matches becomes a really critical element. One of the things that I can get excited about quite easily is some of the flashy stuff associated with some of the technology that we create. And Ben, I know that you've been a fan of this too. In fact, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but there's a new element that's happened inside of our matching product. And Kira, I know that you're excited about this too. So I would love for you just to elaborate a little bit on how this sort of fits into the process and where this is coming from.
Yeah, I am incredibly excited about this. We just launched our new match review page. Building this new match page was truly a partnership between Datasembly and Festival Foods. Their feedback and insights here were really instrumental in creating an experience that provides our customers with the essential information and flow that they actually need to approve and reject a match, with the key information that they need to see along with the images to make those type of decisions to approve or reject them. There was one piece of feedback, Ben, thinking back on it, that kind of really stuck out to me as we were working on this together, which was how you actually evaluate your matches with a really interesting guest focused lens, which you've kind of touched on. Would you mind sharing it with everyone here?
Yeah, so I touched on it a little bit earlier, but it's really, we were having all these discussions about how do we set our match thresholds, how do we set our match standards, and we kept coming back to the same answer: is, does the guest think it's the same item? And if the answer to that question is yes, then it's a match. And so that's why when we worked with Kira and team on this match card, and we said images are critical. And then what we did is we basically just mapped out what we thought our guest's decision tree would be onto this little card. So you look at the image, does it look the same? Then you look at the ounces, are the ounces the same? Then you look at the other components like retail price of the item. Does that seem reasonable for what you're comparing it to? And we took all those elements and kind of put them on with the Datasembly team, put them onto this card. And I think we got something really good here.
Very cool. Very cool. I can get excited about it, but I think Ben, you illustrated it really well. It's got a very strategic part to the solution for you. So Kira, thanks for sharing a little bit more on that. I'm going to keep moving us along. I see some good questions coming in that I would like to get to. Ben, there's been a few sort of critical takeaways along the way on this journey, and I would love to just to think about that a little bit more with you. So if you could just kind of step back and think about this from the perspective of your team, how are they using Datasembly today to make more informed strategic decisions? I'd love to talk about that, and if there's anything other teams inside Datasembly, or I'm sorry, inside a festival that may be using Datasembly, I would love to hear about that too.
Yeah, for sure. And so, some of the things that we're able to leverage now is that we have this clearer picture. So with the private label matching, the random weight matching, we have a better understanding of our competitors' strategies. And I don't really think I need to explain to you that understanding your competitors' strategies better will allow you to make better decisions that align with your strategies. And a lot of the times we found that, maybe we weren't executing our strategy to the extent that it could have been. And so that's always a win in our book. If we can better execute the strategy that we have planned, then we're winning. And then, talking about having better data over time, and that over time component of the Datasembly data, you don't just have the match at a point in time, you have the match through time. And that allows us better decision making when we're planning ads, planning promotions, planning month-long events, things of that nature. So it really just gives us that better foundation to build the rest of our programs off of, because that's really what competitive data collection should be, a foundational piece incorporated with all of your other master data that you really take and use to facilitate the decisions that you're making as a business.
Got it. And I'm seeing a couple of questions come in on the importance of accuracy. Let's hit that at the end here. But Ben, maybe forward looking now. We talked a little bit about in the past where we are right now, and then forward looking, like what does this look like now with Datasembly in your back pocket? Like what are you excited about, or where are the teams headed from here?
Our constant battle, I'm sure, as it is for most retailers out there, is taking this explanatory data and turning it into action. And so that's something that we're really focused on, is how do we leverage this Datasembly data and work it into our other processes. And so that's what we've been doing, is that it provides that extra bit of information, that little bit extra that's going to push you over the edge on a retail decision. If you're caught between two retails, and you pull up the Datasembly data and you see, oh, well, competition was much lower than we thought they were. Maybe we need to be hotter on this retail. So really the focus for my team is packaging and preparing this data into performance cards, little dashboards that they can go into, and really getting this to a point where we can take the information and festivalize it, and then really use it to drive the decisions that we're already making, but make them better. And I think that's one of the things that is really cool about it too, is you don't have to upend your processes that you currently have. You can just feed this right into the things that you're already doing and just do them better. Got it.
I think I've written down festivalized. I think that's a nice one. I think that's
that's an internal term there. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Listen, we've covered a lot of ground here in a short amount of time, but we are getting near the end of our time. Before we kind of move on into some of the Q&A, Ben, any kind of closing thoughts you think we should maybe underscore or make sure that we don't miss here?
One of the things that I do want to call out about matching is that you get out of it what you put into it. And just like anything with data, garbage in, garbage out. So work with Datasembly. They do a lot of the legwork already to make sure that the matches are going to be good. But if you work with your merchandising teams, if you work with your leadership, and you really hone in on what you want out of this tool and what your business goals are for it, you'll get a much better result. I'm really glad that we took the time up front, invested that time with our buying and merchandising teams to have that strong relationship before we even got anything off the ground. And now we're just seeing that it's paying dividends because they're bought into the tool. They understand where the matches came from. They understand where everything is coming from, where it's going, and how to use it. So that would be my one last call out.
Got it. Okay, good. Thank you for that, Ben. Kira, anything that you might want to underscore or add to that?
No, I would just amplify what Ben has said, right? It truly is that partnership and working together to define that criteria up front. And then the continual iteration of defining that across our match maintenance process, right? As you continue to review matches and approve them, and we learn and get better to make sure that these matches are staying current with your specific key criteria for what you consider a match over time is really important. So it's that upfront work and then also that continued relationship that really kind of makes sure that these are the most accurate and applicable matches.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much. Listen, if you guys are okay, I'm going to move us forward into a couple of questions. I know we're really short on time already, but I would like to sneak a couple of these in. And I'll steer them really quickly. Kira, this is a pretty easy one, but a question here, how hard to get started? Are there things we should think about relative to timing guidelines? Sorry for the paraphrase, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it actually isn't hard at all. So we will first work with you to define what the matching scope actually is, making sure we understand what retailers you want to compare to and what items you really want matched. And then we'll kind of go through the onboarding process of what matching looks like. We'll put in that work to define that criteria. And if you don't have criteria up front, like Festival has, we can work together and iterate off of our own. And then once we align on that, it's just basically getting those matches done. And on average, that takes around 2 weeks to actually complete. That varies given scope, but it doesn't take too long.
Got it. And here's one more question, Kira, coming back to you. I think somebody may be in the midst of a product matching project right now. How critical is the quality of data to achieving a good product matching outcome?
Yeah, I would actually argue that having quality data is the most critical piece to achieving accurate product matches. That tailored with that criteria is really going to shape what the quality of matches is. And our data quality basically sets the stage for our ability to make accurate matches. And without the actual depth and breadth of our collections, we wouldn't be able to confidently identify where there are product matches, not to mention where there aren't any product matches for our customers. So those 83 that Ben was touching on, we wouldn't be able to accurately predict and know where the assortment is changing.
Got it. Okay. Ben, time for just a couple of quick questions for you.
Sounds good.
Here's one for Festival. It says, you kind of answered this already, but I think it bears repeating. What was Festival Foods doing for product matching before this new process with Datasembly, and what was really driving the need for that new solution?
Yeah, so we were doing just a combination of setting manual matches and really aligning products on the back end. So we would absorb full files into our system and match them up on the back end. We've gone through different matching efforts with different providers, but really what we found is that with private label being such a big hot topic, recently everyone is aware of that with all the inflation, people are switching to private label, and we needed to make sure that our private label brand presentation was presenting the way that we wanted it to, not only for our internal profitability in those metrics, but for that external facing. Where do we sit in the market? How are we lined up with our national brand compared to how our competitors line up to their national brand? All of those questions. And We just needed something that we could consistently answer that question.
Okay, good. Listen, there are a number of questions here that we aren't going to have time to get to now. One more coming your way, Ben, but if you've asked a question here, know that we will follow up with you directly after our conversation here. But Ben, this is maybe a good one to end on. It says, how can businesses like Festival go about, this is a really important one actually, go about measuring the ROI of product matching solution?
All right, that's that's a good question. So let's see. Define your strategy. Go through your matches, then review your matches and make your retail adjustments, right? So if you want to actually track ROI, define a strategy first, then go through your matches, then make your retail adjustments. And any retail adjustments that you made up or down that were outside of your strategy, there's your ROI. That's a value add. And we think it's a value add as much when we're priced too high and we're actually investing in items as it is when we are when we have margin opportunity and we're able to increase retails a little bit. So we see both sides of that as a win because we want to make sure that we're presenting our brand strategy, our retail strategy to our guest as consistently as possible.
Got it. I think that very good clarity there, short and sweet, actually, in a very difficult kind of conversation. So listen, I will, as I said, we'll get back to some questions that maybe we didn't get a chance to, but I just want to pause. Kira, thank you for being here today. Ben, let me say, we really appreciate the relationship and we appreciate you taking some time, not only to be here with us, but also to share a little bit out with the market. I think that is such an important thing that you're doing, and we appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Thanks, Brad. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Listen, before we go, if any of this, or maybe you've got some incremental questions coming off of this content, if you'd love to chat with us live, you can find us right at datasembly.com/contact. Of course, we love to share our data, the data that's all publicly available. And we've done that in a way called a snapshot. That's our live data preview. You're welcome to check that out on your own. And just like this conversation with Ben, we get the opportunity to work with other people. And next week, we'll actually be in Chicago on stage at POI, and we're actually presenting with Nestle. So we're excited to connect with maybe some of you that are here now or ultimately down the line. So as always, you can find us on LinkedIn, or if you want to connect with me live, you can connect with me there. But we appreciate you taking the time to be here and letting us share a little bit more about Festival Foods and product matching. And that is the end of the content for today. So thank you very much.